All right. What's up, party people? So I hope by the time we're done with this conversation, you'll think about the world just a little differently. That's all I want, and you can give me a big thumbs down if I fail at the end, okay? Sound like a deal? All right, so on the count of 3, I'm going to show something on the screen, and before you say anything, I want you to whisper to the person next to you what you think that this thing is called, okay? So don't say anything out loud. Whisper to the person next to you what you think this thing is. I hear a lot of, which means that you think that it is a swoosh. So I want somebody to yell out what a swoosh is. Can you acknowledge that you busted your ass in college so that you can get a job, and you got a job at some company that your parents know not of, but if you got a job here, they would immediately think that you've made it, right? This symbol is supposed to say amazing things about you, and it's supposed to say amazing things about athletes and everyone else associated with it, right? Yet, this room filled with intellectuals has no idea what the hell a swoosh is. I mean, you would pay more money for this. In fact, you would drive across town to Rodeo in Wilshire, you would wait in line, and you would pay 2 to 3 times more for a t-shirt with this check mark on it than a t-shirt with equally high quality cotton. Am I right? Isn't it amazing that you know nothing? You don't know what Nike stands for? Shouldn't it be pronounced Nike? Right? You don't know what a swoosh is, and you surely don't know what this symbol is supposed to convey. But every single one of you has wanted it as a part of your life. And what you need to come to understand is that Nike didn't let this happen by chance. They didn't just say, let's hope the world understands who we are and why we matter. They said, we're going to decide it for them. We're going to put the answer into the mind of the audience so that when they see us, when they hear our name, they think exactly what we want them to think. And they didn't figure this out by themselves. There are plenty of organizations that have done just the same. It doesn't make a difference what product we're making. Does anybody know what the Mercedes-Benz logo actually is? What do you think? You think it's a peace sign? Someone said steering wheel? Yeah. No, you're all wrong, and it doesn't matter. Because when you got out of college and you had a couple extra pennies, you said to yourself, BMW or Mercedes, right? Even though you couldn't technically afford it, you needed to have it in your life. Why? So when people saw you driving it, you felt something special. You felt accomplished, educated, wealthy, discretionary, artistic. Whatever you want this story to be, that's exactly what the organization is trying to convey to you. They're giving you the tools to tell a story about who you are and why you matter to the world. And even though this organization has had the most lemoned car in US history, a car that has had so many problems consecutively that you actually can give it back and they have to give you 100% of what you paid for it back even a year later. Yet, you would bust your ass, take every extra penny you have to show up to this event in your Mercedes. And you'd probably tell the valet to park it up, right? So we can see you get into it at the end, okay? Now, before you decide that this is bad, or you women, you start judging the men that think this way, just acknowledge that we do this all the time. We are constantly making decisions. We're deciding what bands to listen to, what political parties to serve, what organizations to call our own, constantly, because we know when someone sees those brands, they're going to think something very specific about us. So what I'm asking you is, if you are something, if you are a story to be told, do not wait for us to figure it out. Don't hope that we will see your name and know why we should care about you. Decide in advance so that when I look your name up or I ask somebody who you are, they tell me exactly what you want me to know, right? This is not the only organization that figured it out as well. Name a category, right? Is this the only cartoon mouse in the world? Is this the only cartoon mouse? Name another cartoon mouse. What about Fievel Mouskowitz, people? We gotta help our peeps. We gotta help our peeps out, right? Everything about this mouse totally freaks me out, okay? First of all, he's got a whacked out group of friends, right? Ducks and dogs that I can't understand. He's been dating the same other mouse for 60 years, and no Jewish mother is asking him, like, "Nu, you gonna get married? What's the intent here, right?" They just let him do his thing. And no matter what angle you look at his cranium, he always has this like pseudo mohawk, right? It's always sort of this broken structure on his head. And lastly, and my favorite, is he wears his pants up to his nipples every day. Every day. And no one questions why he's the king, right? So I don't know if you know, but you can go to Universal Studios now for about $15 if you bring a can of Coke. $15, okay? And at Universal Studios, they have roller coasters and desserts and cartoon characters walking around, things to entertain you, correct? Do you know how much it costs to go to Disneyland now? Please. You only want to go to one park? $100, and it costs $20 to park. In the worst economy in your lifetime, it costs $100 to go to Disneyland. And they have roller coasters just like Universal Studios, cartoon characters walking around, you name it. But the difference is the guy cleaning up your trash at Universal Studios, his job description says janitor. What does the job description of the janitor say at Disneyland?
Cast member.
Cast member. What does that mean? What does it mean that we call the janitor at Disneyland a cast member? He's telling a story. He is putting on a show so that when you are in the Magic Kingdom, it actually feels magical, right? You can laugh at it, or you can decide that if I offered you a ticket to Disneyland, you'd be pretty fired up and you would go. You would take off work, right? Right, people? Do you understand that you could find food and roller coasters and all the other things elsewhere for cheaper? But this one, for whatever reason, makes you feel magical. Do you think that's by accident? Do you think that they just let that happen by chance? Any sector, I don't care what you're talking about, services, products, sandwiches, it doesn't matter. First of all, does anybody in this room think that the Big Mac is big? Does anybody in this room know of a taste test that McDonald's has won? Never. Yet it's the fastest growing food franchise in the history of the food franchise business. No one can beat McDonald's, and you can go almost anywhere. In fact, up until last year, no country with a McDonald's had ever waged war on a country with a McDonald's. Now, I have to ask you, what does that say about countries with McDonald's in them? No, I'm serious, and I'm going to help you answer the question, okay? In 1980, when the Soviet Union still existed, in its traditional communist sense, McDonald's decided that they were going to open up a restaurant there. And McDonald's has a policy. They use local grains and local talent to build their facilities, right? Their cows are grown locally, you name it. You know, the lettuce is Russian lettuce. And in communist societies, you don't have disposable income. You don't have cash, like, sitting around in your pockets. You want to spend on something personal, you sell Bubby's Locket, okay? You hawk Bubby's Locket so that you can have disposable cash that you can use on whatever it is you prefer. So what was it that the Russians were waiting in line for 3 days? For 3 days, they waited in line with Bubby's Locket money, okay, Bubby's Locket money, 3 days, to be served by a Russian who's going to feed them in a Russian-built facility with Russian meat and grains. What was the Russian waiting to bite into? Seriously, what is it? What was the feeling that they were seeking? Capitalism, freedom, Americana, self-expression, you name it. That's exactly what McDonald's sells. Go anywhere. You will get off a plane in Thailand, you will look at the fried cockroaches, and you're like, what up, Mickey D's? Okay? Where's my capitalism? Where's my freedom? Where's my Americana? Okay? McDonald's has never sold hamburgers. McDonald's sells a sensation, a notion of American family. And you can disagree, or you can go to Paris and realize that the fastest growing coffee shop in Paris, where they, I'm telling you as an American, hate you. Don't you dare talk to me with that stupid English accent, right? Fastest growing coffee shop? Mick Cafe, dear friends. McDonald's making coffee. Is it about the taste of the coffee? Is it about the price of the coffee or the size of the cup? Has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the feeling that you are given when you're in the presence of the brand. And it works for people too. Michael Jordan was phenomenal at one thing: taking an orange rubber sphere packed with air, bouncing it on a series of wooden planks, and putting it in an orifice at the other end of a rectangle. That is it. Have you ever seen Michael Jordan play baseball? Have you heard how good of a husband he is? Have you heard how good at what he is at managing his finances or owning a basketball team? Miserable failures on all accounts, except for orange sphere in orifice at end of rectangle, okay? But it doesn't matter, because the people advising Michael Jordan said, my God, people want to be like you, brother. My God. So what are we going to do? We're going to give them the story. We're going to give them the tools to feel like they can be like Mike. And even though this man has not played basketball for 10 years, go to Nike Town and ask them about their most expensive shoes. Over $300 for a pair of Air Jordans, shoes that are no longer tested on the court. I want you to take that pair of shoes and I want you to walk downstairs and I want you to ask them about the second most expensive pair of basketball shoes at, I don't know, $180. And I want you to hold them up in front of the clerk and I want you to ask, Manishta not, no, why is this shoe different than this shoe? And the person will look at you like you're an idiot, because they're going to say, because these are Jordans, dude. A shoe that people wait in line for, pay top dollar for, and then put in the closet and don't wear. They just need to know that they have it, all right? And you can actually create a fictitious character. You don't have to hope that you have some particular skill, because Marilyn Manson is not a good singer. He's not a good guitar player. He's not a good songwriter. And he's known it from the beginning. So instead of standing around and hoping that people would know who he is, he decided. He created an identity for himself, and he has executed it flawlessly since the day he decided. He made up a name, made up a demeanor, created this concept of the Antichrist superstar. The man's name is Brian Warner. He loves his family. He's been married in civil ceremonies. He doesn't bite heads off of chickens. He's just trying to ask you a question. Like if someone says, women can dye their hair pink, and you have no problem with it. But when you ask, can a man dye his hair pink, everyone starts to get the stink eye, like, what? Is that, why is that? Who said that that's the rule, right? That's all he's asking. If someone told you that this is the system, just question the system. And he's brilliantly articulate, right? You've heard him be interviewed before, Letterman, Bowling for Columbine. He knows exactly what's going on. And he's not the first person to fabricate an identity either, my friends. There are plenty of people that figured out before him. Honestly, you're all educated in this room. You all grew up watching television. Will someone please tell me what the T stands for in Mr. T? Just consider that you never even cared to ask, right? For 29 years, this dude has been walking around as someone who believes that they actually own the letter. Not only that, but it doesn't make a difference if he's in the A-Team or boxing Rocky or interviewing kids on Oprah. He always pities the foo, right? He doesn't have to change into 18 characters, okay? He can be one character the whole time, on the streets, on television, while being interviewed, while beating up Rocky, doesn't matter. All he did is decide what promise he wanted to make to the world, and he kept that promise every single day. He does not leave the house without keeping his promise. What promise do you want to make? Seriously. What do you want me to know about you? Your business, your story, your country, your faith? Don't assume that people are going to understand. Decide what you want them to remember and hand it to them. Shove it in their face, all right? I want to talk to you about this last story. Everybody in this room, listen. If you have an iPod or an iPhone, raise your hand. Keep your hands up. If you think that the white earbuds are good, keep your hands up. You paid $400 for this device, yet you used the shittiest headphones you can possibly find. They don't stay in your ears, the levels are totally jacked, right? You know how much a reasonable pair of headphones costs? I don't know, 15 bucks? 15 bucks with a little hook so they don't fall out of your ear. Yet, no. Because when you wear those boring black earbuds, nobody knows how cool you really are. Okay? Just acknowledge that you are constantly telling stories about who you are and why you matter. So I'm just asking you, instead of just using commercial brands, decide what story you want to tell and make sure that when I read your name, hear your story, listen to your voice, you're reminding me what you want me to know about you. And even though this brand only accounts for less than 7% of all computers sold, less than 7%, this is my client's favorite brand. They come knocking on the door and say, can you please build me a brand like Apple? And you know what I ask them when they show up? Absolutely. Just tell me what the bite out of the apple means. Doesn't it astonish you that you have no idea? You don't even know why it is called Apple. Yet, you will wait in line. Not only will you wait in line, when your piece of shit stops working, you have to make an appointment with someone whose title is genius, making you an idiot, right? That's what you're willing to go through to tell a story about who you are. You wouldn't dare show up to a creative conversation without your Mac open, right? You are not alone, my friends. We're all looking for a story to tell, and great brands, great countries, and great faiths do not leave it to chance.